I don't care about you. I just want your vote.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Jordan Yule with you guys. Jordan's on Rebel HQ, and he's got the Insurgents podcast. Make sure you check out both of those. So big show ahead today, Jordan. We got some blood-boiling stories, both about Israel and in domestic policy. I mean, what some Republicans are doing to women in the country is gross and unacceptable. And then Trump is thinking of something positive in regards to marijuana, but MAGA influencers want to ruin it. I mean, good because it makes them look like idiots. Bad because marijuana should be legal. So that's going to be later in the program. And a poll on Ukraine where I have no idea where I'm going to vote. In fact, here I'll tell you what it is right now. TYT.com. Should we keep sending military aid and weapons to Ukraine? Now that's a basic question I should be able to answer. But that situation is so difficult. It is very, very difficult to answer clearly in that situation. But we're going to give you both sides of it, as we always do, and let you guys decide. Okay, so Jordan, what are we starting with?
Take a look at this.
היום סוף סוף אנחנו מממשים את ההבטחה ומחברים את מעלה אדומים לירושלים, בירתנו האחת והיחידה, בחיבור אסטרטגי, ביטחוני ודמוגרפי. המציאות הזו קוברת סופית את רעיון המדינה הפלסטינית. פשוט כי אין במה להכיר ואין במי להכיר.
The real intentions of the right-wing Israeli government became even clearer today. Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich announced plans to build more than 3,000 homes in an illegal settlement with the hopes of, quote, burying the idea of a Palestinian state for good. And we'll give you more of his horrific statements shortly, but first, Cenk, off the cuff, what do you make of this?
Yeah, so that guy you were looking at, Smotrich, is a bona fide Nazi. He's saying that the Palestinian state will not exist. I mean, it was partly in that quote that you just saw there in that video, but we have more quotes for you. And that there will be no one to recognize, he said in that video. So not only will there not be a Palestine to recognize, but there will not be Palestinians to recognize. So that's why I call him a Nazi, because that's how Nazis talk. That we're gonna wipe you all out, there's gonna be nothing left of you. So this plan is to split the West Bank right down the middle, making a Palestinian state impossible, and Smotrich admits that and is proud of that. He's a genocidal monster, a terrorist, and by the way, completely controls the Israeli government. Every once in a while you'll hear Israeli apologists make it seem like, oh, he's the chief gardener, he's not important. No, if he leaves the government or Ben-Gvir leaves the government falls apart and Netanyahu will then have to face justice and a criminal trial where he might go to jail. So if Smotrich says jump, Netanyahu has to say how high. He is completely in charge. There is a genocidal maniac, at least 3 of them, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, and Netanyahu himself, who are in charge of the Israeli government. So let us tell you about their plan for genocide in the West Bank now. In the West Bank, not just what they've already done to Gaza Strip.
Now, the so-called E1 project in the West Bank, as Cenk emphasized, is located between Jerusalem and the Ma'ale Adumim settlement in the West Bank. It's been on pause for decades because of international opposition. Israel stopped construction plans in 2012 and again in 2020 because of objections from the US and European allies. But Smotrich doesn't care. Peace Now, an Israeli settlement watchdog, explained just how massive his new expansion plans are. The 3,300 housing units in Ma'ale Adumim represent an increase of about 33% in the settlement's housing stock, an enormous expansion for a settlement whose population has been stagnant at around 38,000 for the past decades and has experienced net out migration. Now, here's a quick video to help you visualize what this project would do. Take a look.
The only internationally recognized boundary between Israel and Palestine is known as the Green Line. But in 1967, Israel occupied the West Bank. And since then, it has annexed Jerusalem and has built illegal settlements in and around occupied East Jerusalem. And you can see them in blue. In 2002, Israel started building a separation wall around them, cutting them off from the rest of the occupied West Bank. And you can see that separation wall, that's in red there. And this is known as the E1 plan, and it aims to create, as we said, more than 3,000 illegal Israeli settlement units. If implemented, the plan would connect the illegal Israeli settlements with Israeli annexed Jerusalem, cutting deeper into the West Bank.
So why is this so significant? As the Times of Israel explains, it would divide the West Bank into northern and southern regions and prevent the development of a Palestinian metropolis that connects East Jerusalem to Bethlehem and Ramallah, which the Palestinians have long hoped would serve as the foundation of their future state. Smotrich, who is one of the most extreme members of Netanyahu's coalition, says that the approval for the E1 project is a direct response to the wave of countries announcing their intentions to recognize a Palestinian state. Take a look.
מי שמנסה היום בעולם להכיר במדינה פלסטינית יקבל מאיתנו תשובה בשטח. לא במסמכים, לא בהחלטות או הצהרות, אלא בעובדות. בעובדות של בתים, בעובדות של שכונות, כבישים ועוד ועוד משפחות יהודיות שבונות חיים. הם ידברו על החלום השקרי הפלסטיני. אנחנו נמשיך לבנות מציאות יהודית מגשימה.
He also thanked Donald Trump and Ambassador Mike Huckabee, who he claims supports the project. Trump and Huckabee understand that a Palestinian state would endanger the existence of Israel and that the West Bank is an inseparable part of our land, the one that God promised to our father Abraham and gave to us thousands of years ago, Smotrich said. Smotrich appealed to Netanyahu to apply Israeli sovereignty in Judea and Samaria to forever remove from the agenda the idea of dividing the land and to ensure that by September, the hypocritical leaders in Europe will have nothing to recognize. Neither Trump nor Netanyahu have directly confirmed whether they support moving ahead with the E1 project, but we do know that Netanyahu has touted the project in the past and that Trump lifted sanctions on illegal Israeli settlers when he got into office. Plus, in response to the move, a spokesman for the US State Department said, a stable West Bank keeps Israel secure and is in line with this administration's goal to achieve peace in the region. The plan is expected to get final approval later this month. And if all goes as planned, infrastructure work could begin in the next few months. Cenk.
Yeah, so look, when people start talking about how their religion should talk to God and God promised them the land that other people are living on, so they're gonna murder and move those people because they think they're God's chosen people, that is the ravings of a lunatic mind. And so I don't care what religion you're in, whether it's Judaism, Islam, Christianity, it doesn't matter. If you think God is talking to you and telling you to murder and steal because you are a special chosen person, again, the religion doesn't matter, and there's supremacists in every religion, okay? You're a lunatic, bona fide. You should be locked up in a mental asylum. God is not talking to you. God didn't tell you to murder anyone or steal their land. But unfortunately, almost all the Israeli settlers in the West Bank are lunatics. And they're terrorists, and their entire aim is to take Palestinian land. So there's no redeeming qualities at all. They're among the worst people on planet Earth. And Smotrich is obviously one of the most evil people on the planet. It's not even close. He's one of the worst terrorists of my lifetime, not close. And so this terrorist, as you just heard him say, no, it's the Jews' land. God told us. So we will murder the Muslims, we will steal their land, and we will do it because we are superior to them. The Muslims are inferior, and obviously the Christians are also inferior. Now, he doesn't want to say that one out loud. By the way, they're also moving Christians out of the West Bank. Tucker Carlson covered that, and of course the Israeli supporters went nuts. Shh, don't tell them what Israel's doing to the Christians. No one cares about the Muslims. They can claim to be inferior. The Israelis can make them inferior. The Israelis could say, we're gonna deny the Muslims a state for the rest of time, okay? And no one will care. We'll just send them another check and another check. Everybody loves to be racist and bigoted against Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, etc., right? And that includes almost everyone in mainstream media and almost everyone in politics. They're all deeply racist against Palestinians. They're like, oh, there's a charter somewhere that hypothetically says that Israel might not exist if X, Y, Z, and 2,000 other things happen. Israel's existence is not in 1% jeopardy. They are the safest nation on earth, yet even though they attack all of their neighbors, even though they are actively taking land, even though they're in the middle of a genocide, they're still the safest nation. They have a more capable military than the rest of the Middle East combined. They have nuclear weapons, they have Iron Dome, only nation on earth that has it. They are so secure. I mean, the only time they ever get hit is when they get a report saying, hey, they're going to attack you on October 7th, and they tell their guys to go take a break and don't respond. So the idea that their existence is in danger is 100% propaganda invented by Israeli and American media. Utter propaganda, it has zero basis in fact. If I thought Israel's existence was in danger and those civilians might be killed, I'd be enraged by that idea. But there is no chance that's going to happen. On the other hand, Palestine actually does not exist. Yet our media can't find a way to get outraged by that. They can't, in the minute anyone criticizes Israel, anti-Semitic, bigot, hateful, cancel them, fire them, right? Our media and Congress, congressional hearings. Then you say, well, this guy is, the guy who is one of the 3 most important leaders of Israel, let alone Ben Gvir has said it many times. Netanyahu is now saying it. He said it just yesterday. He said he's on a spiritual mission for greater Israel. That means we're gonna take the West Bank and take Gaza Strip. That's Judea and Samaria, that's the heart of quote unquote greater Israel. They all say it. We think Muslims are dirt and we're gonna kill those Palestinians, we're gonna murder them, and we're gonna take their land. And they say it on tape. And our American media is like, I don't see the racism. I don't see the bigotry. Did you just call settlers a dirty word? How dare you, you bigot! You hateful person, bow down to the settlers. All they're doing is murdering Palestinians daily. You know, 130 attacks in the West Bank by settlers against Palestinians per month. Per month. They never get convicted. Guy shoots a Palestinian on tape. This is in the New York Times story. An Israeli soldier is standing right next to him. They question him for 20 minutes and then say, you're free to go, we have no evidence. No evidence, he shot the guy right in front of you and on tape. What that is saying is, settlers murder away, burn their property, which they are. They burned a house while a baby was inside of it, shot 2-year-old with a sniper while she was being held by her mom. Okay, these 6 savage settlers and their lunatic religious philosophy that they are the superior race. That's why I call them Nazis. Because when you say that you're the superior race and you're allowed to murder other races, that makes you a Nazi. And that's what those settlers are, that's what Smotrich is, that's what Netanyahu is, that's what Ben Gvir is. But no, American media will lie to you and pretend that the Palestinians are oppressing the Israelis. The Palestinians are down to rocks. And they're like, oh, the Palestinians might wipe out Israel. They might kill all the Israelis. With what army? Any reporter who says that is a lunatic, out of their minds. The Palestinians have no ability to harm Israel in an existential way. You'd have to be a lunatic to think, where? Do they have secret nukes? How are they going to wipe out Israel? What a crazy thing to say. Meanwhile, Israel is rubbing it in our face. Yeah, we're wiping out the Palestinians. Yeah, we think they're inferior to us. We're the superior race, and we will take their land, they say, as if they're goddamn Hitler. But American media is like, no, you can't say that. That's 100% factually true, but you're not allowed to say it because it might offend someone. Well, their constant murder of Palestinians and their declaration of their fascist desires offends me. Is it okay? No, you're Muslim, atheist, whatever the F you are, no one cares about you. No one cares. You can get offended, you can get killed. We don't care. So no, anti-Semitism isn't the problem. Massive nuclear level bigotry towards Muslims and Palestinians is the problem. If any report is telling you otherwise, have them watch Smotrich's tape where he says, we're gonna change the facts on the ground. So it doesn't really matter. What that means is we're gonna steal their land. And E1 is stealing their land by all international law. No one disputes that. So what? What are you gonna do about it? We're the superior race, he says, or religion, or whatever the hell he thinks it is in his lunatic mind. It isn't about the Jewish part of Jewish supremacy at all, because almost all races and religions have lunatics like this. It's the supremacy part that's the problem. Jordan.
Yeah, I think this is a moment that every single Democrat must reconsider this alliance with Israel in the language. I mean, Pete Buttigieg, his comments about putting your arm around your ally and just, calling them in more or less. And then this white noise, nothing burger of his explanation in Politico today, basically being like, words sometimes fail in these situations because it's so horrific. There is zero defense of or justification for our alliance with Israel now. And that Democrats are still, even this week, in Israel filming content with AIPAC, defending, doubling down on our alliance. I mean, you are all culpable in this, because as this network has pointed out since day one, the West Bank had nothing to do with October 7th. The Palestinian Authority runs the West Bank, not Hamas. And they use that as pretext to go in for further annexation. We warned about this, some others have warned about it since day one, but here it is. It's getting more and more real. It's getting more and more tangible. And now that you have somebody like Trump who has turned a blind eye to everything Israel is doing, who has pulled back their security coordinator in the West Bank and Gaza, who has reduced, as The Intercept reported this week, cut down the size of Israel's human rights abuse report from over 100 pages to 9, a reduction of 91%. They want this. They do not care that this violates international law, that this violates human rights, that this is an erasure of culture, of boundaries, nothing. They're totally fine with this right-wing, maniacal, and genocidal government, no matter what they do. Every step of the way, the United States, the Republican Party, and to a great extent, the Democratic Party is in lockstep with Netanyahu and his cabinet.
Yeah, last thing here, guys. There's two giant lies that the mainstream media and our politicians say, and I want to break the illusion and that mythology. So they say, oh no, why do we have to help Israel? I mean, they're in the middle of a genocide. They're proudly declaring that they're going to murder the Palestinians and steal their land. Why should we help these goddamn Nazis? Oh no, because Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. Wait, is it a democracy? It occupies 5.5 million Palestinians. So do they not count? Anyone who says Israel's a democracy is a racist, because they say, well, Palestinians don't matter, they don't count. We can imprison 5.5 million Palestinians in open air prison in West Bank and Gaza Strip. We can slaughter them anytime we like. We can even starve them to death, right? We can murder their babies. We can do anything we want to the Palestinians, and you still have to call us a democracy. And idiots go on cable news. Oh, they are the greatest democracy. They are the only democracy in the Middle East. They're not a democracy. They're a democracy in Israel plus a dictatorship in the occupied territories. There is no question about that. These are definitional. You can't argue that the Palestinians are free. Are you saying you would have to be like literally deranged, like straitjacket deranged, to say that the Palestinians in Gaza are free and independent? Is anyone that stupid, that much of a liar? No, obviously Israel controls Gaza and the West Bank. So those people are 5.5 million hostages living under the dictatorship of Israel. So don't tell me it's a democracy when they have a dictatorship that they're running for all those Palestinians. And they should accurately, the second point is they should accurately label what Netanyahu is. He is, to be fair, he is the prime minister of Israel. He's also the dictator of the West Bank and Gaza Strip. That's a fact. Netanyahu they had no chance to vote on him. Palestinians didn't get to vote for or against Netanyahu. But Netanyahu is their dictator. But if you say that, oh no, Israeli feelings might be offended, you're not allowed to say the truth. You better shut up about the truth. Otherwise, we'll call you an anti-Semite and try to ruin your life. But you see, we don't control anything. No, guys, this isn't about, no Mossad guy or Israeli Knesset member is calling random Jews in America and going, here's the plan, here's the memo. It isn't about Jewish. They're hiding behind Jewish people as human shields. They're using them as human shields to say, if you attack the evil actions of our government, we're gonna say that Jews are responsible for it. All the Jews are, and you're attacking Jews. Well, we didn't attack Jews, we didn't say Jews. You said it. The Israeli government is callously using the idea of anti-Semitism, callously using Jewish people all across the world, and by the way, endangering them and getting the whole world to hate them so that they could do their evil, evil plans for greater Israel. Do all Jews believe that they are superior to all other people, to Christians and Muslims? No, not a single Jewish person I know believes that, not one. And I know hundreds of Jewish people. But you go to Ben Gvir, Smotrich, and Netanyahu, of course we are superior. We are the superior race, they say, just like the goddamn Nazis. But in American media, the reason I get so upset is gaslighting every day, every single day, every single hour. Israel's a democracy. The Palestinians are an existential threat to the Israelis, but the Israelis are not an existential threat to the Palestinians, even though they don't allow them to exist, even though they brag about how they're gonna murder them and take their land. No, I can't stand it. I can't stand the lies of American media and American politicians who are dogs to Israel. So that's just the reality. And you could know anyone who denies it now looks like a lunatic. The word is out, it's over. All your BS propaganda, oh no, everybody hates Israel. It's your fault. It's your fault being hateful. It's not Israel's fault for murdering. You know what? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just used the word murder in the same sentence as Israel. You're not allowed to do that. Only Muslims murder. Israel accidentally kills. They didn't mean to. They're the most moral army. But hey, look at that, 61, now almost 62,000 dead at a bare minimum. Oops, did we murder your children again? 870 kids under the age of 1 murdered by Israel. Murdered by Israel. But no, you're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to say facts because facts are anti-Semitic. Murdering 870 Palestinians and saying they're inferior and shouldn't exist, not bigoted, not racist. Pointing that fact out, anti-Semitic my ass. You guys are a bunch of liars because you're all deeply racist against Palestinians and deeply bigoted against Muslims. That's who you are if you're in American media. If you're one of those dogs working at the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, Bakari Sellers out there today. Oh yeah, Israel's the greatest. Oh yeah, the Palestinians, oh yeah, no big deal. God damn it, I'm so mad. I can't stand their lies and our corrupt politicians. Jordan asked for the Democrats to pull out. There's gonna be about a dozen Democrats who do the right thing. And the rest of them will count their money. They'll be, oh yeah, AIPAC gave me money. God damn it. It's true. 65% of Congress has taken money from AIPAC. And that's just the money we know just from one of the Israeli PACs. If you include the other Israeli PACs and you include dark money, it's nearly all of Congress. But we know for a fact that 65% have taken money from AIPAC, and that 65% votes with Israel 100% of the time. But the liars on television, the liars in the New York Times and in mainstream media go, no, the money does not affect them. Saying that AIPAC controls them when they control their vote 100%, even though that's a stone cold fact, you know what they're gonna say? Anti-Semite, this guy says facts. He should never be allowed to say facts. He should be forced to shut up and bow down to Israel. I'm an American. I didn't come to live in Israel where I'm oppressed and occupied. I came to America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. But our politicians are cowards and they're corrupt and they work for Israel. There's no question about it. Anyone who says otherwise is a liar, a provable liar, but they all lie on behalf of Israel. And then when you say the truth, they say, oh, you guys, since you're objecting to the murder and erasure of Palestinians, you're the true bigots. No, I challenge, oh, you know what? I challenge any mainstream media anchor, cable news anchor, to a debate on Israel. None of them will take it, and none of them can withstand it, because they're all giant liars, and they all do Israeli propaganda 24/7. One of you, just step up, I dare you. You won't, because you all work for Israel, young Turks. All right, back on TYT. Andre P on YouTube member section says, I just started watching TYT. Is this just post-October 7th thing? Barely talk about home, Israel, Israel, Israel. Okay, Andre, here's the situation. So after the 2008 crash, I spent a year and a half talking about finance. Why? Because it was the biggest story in the world, and they had crashed our economy. They cost us 12, 13 million jobs. And the bankers were getting not only bailed out, they were getting bonuses on top. Obama was like, oh, you crashed the entire economy, cost us $13 million? Thank you very much. I'd love to give you a big fat bonus. And people eventually, you're right, at some point they're like, okay, Cenk, you gotta move on. Okay, we got robbed and we're gonna keep getting robbed. But when there's an injustice and it's happening right now and right in front of our eyes, it's impossible for me to pull away. So like you see this story today. Like, do I want to cover 8 stories a day on Israel? No, we try so hard to get it down to a manageable size, right? And we have 2 stories today on it, out of 10, 12 stories, right? So, but this one's a genocide. It's happening, like I keep thinking, it's like the Holocaust is happening. Everybody's like, oh yeah, it's debatable. It's debatable. In fact, I think the Germans are right. You're offending the Germans. You're a very terrible person offending the Germans. The problem isn't the Jews being slaughtered, no. The problem is the feelings of the goddamn Germans. And so in that torture chamber of gaslighting, I can't stand it, so I gotta speak out on it. But do we cover the other topics? Yes, we're gonna talk about marijuana, we're gonna talk about Republican attacks on on women, et cetera, et cetera. We cover all the topics, Andre. But yes, in the middle of genocide and the extreme gaslighting, when everyone else in media, certainly in mainstream media, is lying about it, it's our job to fight back. Jen says, this is also disgusting because the fact is there's enough earth to house us all. What's wrong with some people? Because some people think, I'm better than you. I should have everything, you should have nothing. Those are disgusting people. That's 100% of the settlers in the West Bank. S says, and 100% of the Israeli cabinet right now. S says, I was listening to a couple of doctors today who said it's already too late for thousands of Palestinians. Even if they would get food today, they would still die. They would need intensive care. 54 people were murdered by Israel today in Gaza Strip. 4 died of starvation today. Okay, the starvation continues. But we're all supposed to like go, oh no, I don't want to offend the feelings of Israelis or Israeli supporters. I mean, they love genocide, but we don't want to offend their feelings. It's like, I mean, it's just so sick. So guys, the other reason why I'm so mad is once they do that E1 thing that we just told you about, it's over. And you're not gonna be able to get it back. It's like one of the greatest injustices of my lifetime. We're in the middle of the movie now and there's nothing we can do. It's so frustrating. And everyone in power in America, forget Israel, in America lies on behalf of Israel. How am I not supposed to be enraged by that? Lady AF says, yeah, let's not call them Nazis. They're the new thing now. They have their own name. Yeah, you can call them anything you like. I don't care, but they act like Nazis. Patricia Kumar says, I love the fire coming from Cenk. It's almost as great as caffeine. Cineologist says, I like it when Cenk goes off. I find it cathartic. Thank you guys. I just can't help it, but thank you. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Jordan with you guys. Deb Long wrote in our super chat, I'm so sick of Israel portraying themselves as David. They are Goliath on steroids. It's sickening. But Deb, you're a better journalist than almost every mainstream media reporter in the country who's like, what? Poor little Israel. These no good, dirty Palestinians attacking poor little Israel. Anti-Semite. They all say in unison, I can't stand them, I loathe them. Trisha Briggs, Malcolm Byers, Tom Ambruster, Liz IE, thank you for joining, guys, or upgrading. You could also upgrade through the join button. You guys are beautiful people, and we would literally be off the air without you guys, and the Israelis would love it. Oh yeah, we got to shut, they're inferior to us anyway, and we got them to shut up. CDN Norse Dog Dad, thank you for gifting a membership. As long as you guys are behind us, they can't shut us up, and it's driving them crazy. Okay, Jordan.
Take a look at this.
To people in my party, I'm tired of this crap. Israel is our friend. They're the most reliable friend we have in the Mideast. A word of warning. If America pulls the plug on Israel, God will pull the plug on us.
Over the weekend, Senator Lindsey Graham said that if America does not continue to support Israel, there will be consequences from God. And that sounds harsh, but he also said that he's tired of the word genocide. We'll play that clip for you in a minute. But first, Cenk, what is your reaction to what you just saw? Do you think there will be consequences from God if we do not support Israel?
Okay, what does that mean? Like, I mean, I asked really, I mean, like, obviously no Democrat and no independent would believe such a maniacal thing, right? And at this point, most right-wingers hate Lindsey Graham, right? But I asked all the right, what do you think he means? Because do you think Lindsey Graham's talking to God? Do you think God told him, oh, hey, tell everybody that America's gonna get wiped out. I'm gonna kill everybody in America. I'm gonna pull the plug on America. I'm gonna wipe out and totally destroy America unless you all send your money to Israel right now. Does anyone in their right mind believe that there's a 1% chance that that happened? Obviously not, obviously not. So, but Lindsey Graham does work for someone. He works for Israel. And here, I'll skip ahead to one graphic here, AIPAC tracker. How much has he gotten from the pro-Israel lobby? Oh, look at that, over $1 million. Moronic mainstream media reporters will say it has not affected him at all. No, he doesn't work for Israel. That was just a coincidental $1 million. And he happened to already agree that we should all be dogs to Israel. We should all serve Israel loyally and not America. And if we don't, God will murder us all. So I ask all Americans, but particularly the right wing, do you think God will wipe us out unless we keep sending money and weapons to Israel? A government, a foreign government. That God cares so much about a foreign government that unless we send them endless bombs and weapons and allow them to murder anyone they like and take any land they like, and we give them another $300 billion, unless we do that, God is going to kill us all. So obviously no one in their right mind can believe that. So what is that threat about? Since he doesn't speak to God, but he does speak to Israel, is Lindsey Graham threatening America? Is he saying if you don't keep funding Israel and following their orders, I, a United States Senator, am threatening you on behalf of Israel? Wow. So just when you thought the bribery and the corruption in Washington couldn't get any worse, we have the senator from Tel Aviv telling us that all of America will be destroyed by God unless we follow the orders of a foreign government. Unbelievable. All right, there's more madness where this came from.
Yeah, here's more of Lindsey Graham's speech at a South Carolina Republican fundraiser. Take a look.
I am tired of the word genocide. Let me tell you about genocide. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, they could. They have the capability to do that. They choose not to. Hamas, they would commit genocide in 30 seconds. They just can't. October the 7th was an effort to destroy the state of Israel, the largest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. And here we are almost 2 years later, and Israel's the bad guy. That's ridiculous. Israel is not the bad guy. They're the good guy. The bad guys are the radical Islamists who would kill everybody in this room if they could. So I haven't lost my vision of right and wrong. When it comes to foreign policy, President Trump has stood up for all the right things, and he stood up against wrong things, just like Reagan.
And what he just said was bought and paid for by AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby, because like Cenk said earlier, Lindsey Graham has received over $1 million from AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby. But let's revisit something that Graham said in the cold open. He was calling out, to quote him, members of his own party. It's likely a reference to Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is now stating that Israel is committing a genocide. But this is bigger than just Greene. It's about the Republican base overall. Last month, the Financial Times reported that my people are starting to hate Israel. Trump recently warned one prominent Jewish donor, according to a Middle East expert who speaks regularly with the administration. And that would explain why Israel is now trying to win over MAGA influencers, according to a recent article from Axios. 15 MAGA influencers visited Israel this week on a trip organized by Israel 365, an advocacy group that aims to strengthen Israel by building bridges between Jews, Christians, and all who share our faith-based values. According to Axios, the Israeli Foreign Ministry gave Israel 365 a $70,000 contract to organize the trip. The group toured the Western Wall, the West Bank, Golan Heights, the Syrian border, and sites impacted by the October 7th attacks. Israel 365 covered the costs of all hotels, transportation, food, and activities. Some of the influencers on the trip include Emily Saves America, Fabian Garcia, and Jane Zirkle. Zirkle was affiliated with Steve Bannon's War Room podcast, but according to an anonymous source, the podcast parted ways with her because of the trip. All of the influencers we mentioned have posted content from their trip, and you'll see some supportive messages in the comments, but you'll also see comments like the following. "Don't come back," wrote one person. Another person pointed out, "This post proudly paid for by Israel." Another one said, "Israel first." Someone said, "Go kiss the wall." Time will tell if Israel's investment into MAGA influencers will pay off. If it doesn't, the Israeli government is courting another audience, evangelicals. Another foreign ministry memo obtained by Axios showed plans to work with Trinity Broadcast Network, which has a significant evangelical audience in the US. Cenk.
Yeah, so let's take it one at a time. I'm gonna come back to the sellout influencers in a second, all whores. So first, Lindsey Graham, both directions can do harsh talk. I know, in America, you're used to Lindsey Graham saying everybody in America is gonna get wiped out unless you send more money to Israel. Maybe it won't even be a controversy. Is anybody in cable news still talking about it now? No, gone in like a couple of hours, right? That's not controversial at all. If you offend the feelings of an Israeli supporter, there'll be congressional hearings though, okay? So he gets to be harsh, I get to be harsh. So I'll come back to those prostitutes in a minute. So let's talk about Lindsey Graham. So he said, I'm so tired about hearing about genocide. Yeah, because you're getting funded by the people committing genocide. That's why you're tired of hearing about it. You're like, oh, boo-hoo. So I got bribed to support a genocide where we just murdered tens of thousands of children. I'm so tired about hearing about it. It's hurting my ears a little bit. Okay, so why don't you all shut up about the genocide that I'm funding with your money, by the way, because I'm a corrupt son of a bitch who works for Israel. Okay, then he says, well, I mean, they could murder if they wanted to genocide. They could murder all the Palestinians. Okay, so that's two things about that you should know. Number one, it is literally what every defender of a genocide says. Oh, well, we could have killed all the people in Srebrenica, all the people in Bosnia, all the people in Armenia. We could have killed all the people in Cambodia. We could have killed them all, but we didn't. Oh, hey, you know what? The Japanese could have killed everybody in China, but they only raped Nanking. So it's not a big deal, right? No, there's a difference between a genocide and a Holocaust. A Holocaust is when you try to wipe out a whole race. Genocide is when you kill basically a lot of people in an ethnicity that you targeted. So are the Israelis killing random Norwegians and people from Botswana and Bolivia and Palestinians? No, they're targeting the Palestinians, and they have murdered an extraordinary large number of people. They've targeted civilians, sniper shots, mass starvation, mass ethnic cleansing, textbook genocide. I mean, there's no debate about it among sane, rational people anymore. Only the corrupt have a conversation about whether it's a genocide. And I'll throw in some biased people. Oh, I love Israel. Oh, my grandmother's from Israel, so Israel can do no wrong. You're all anti-Semites, okay? No, yeah, Israel can commit a genocide, but you're not allowed to call it that because I'll call you an anti-Semite and try to ruin your life. I'm not interested in that. I don't care. You can call it, everything bounces off of us. I don't care, okay? What I care about is you actually doing a genocide and supporting a genocide like this sick Lindsey Graham. So, he says October 7th was the worst death of Jews since the Holocaust. God, that sounds terrible, right? And everybody's like, they always love that line. They love to use that line. And it is terrible. It is terrible. So we condemned Hamas 1 billion times already for that, right? So good, we all agree it's terrible. Now, this thing that is so bad, it's the worst thing since the Holocaust. Israel has killed 60 times the number of civilians. So 60 events that are the worst since the Holocaust. I know, they don't affect Israelis. Does that count? They affect the inferior people, the Palestinians. So I guess our media says, and our politicians like Lindsey Graham say, that doesn't count. Who cares that it's the worst thing since the Holocaust? I don't care, they're only Muslims, they're only Palestinians. So they did it not once, not twice, not 3 times. Should I go all the way to 60? They've murdered more than 500 times the number of children that Hamas has murdered. So Hamas bad, Israel 500 times worse. Obviously terrorists by definition. But Lindsey Graham says, no, but I got $1 million from them. So you'll all bow your head to Israel, otherwise God will wipe you out. And besides which, I don't work for you. You idiots in South Carolina, you elected me? No, Tel Aviv and Jerusalem elected me. They gave me the money and I work for them. He says, oh my God, if the Palestinians could, they'd murder so many Israelis. Except they're not doing that. Israel is doing it to the Palestinians. They literally do. Israel is literally doing it. Not could, is doing it. Oh, no, who cares? Palestinians, who cares? Just kill them all, who cares? Who cares? Okay, so all right, Israeli lives are the most precious, superior human beings on earth, but the Palestinians don't even count. I mean, what a racist, bigoted, clown ass this Lindsey Graham is. Okay, I mean, he's been hiding his real identity for a long, long time. We all know that. And his real identity is an Israeli propagandist, bought prostitute for the government of Israel. Everyone knows that. Now even the right wing knows that. All right, last thing, we go back to the other whores, the right wing influencers who brought to Israel. And they're like, okay, you bow at the wall. Bow to Israel. And then you give them this propaganda and they idiots come back. They're like, oh my God, Israel's so great. We love the genocide, it's terrific. Palestinian lives are irrelevant. Israel murdered 54 more Palestinians today, it's so great. Okay, all losers like the Nelk boys and all these propagandists for Israel, they're disgusting. And if you listen to them, obviously they're lying to you. They literally got paid to lie to you, right? But look, they're tiny, they're not that important. If you notice anyone, but generally seems to be the right wing hosts online, not the independents, not the left. You know I've had criticism for everyone, okay? But in this case, it is the right-wing influencers. If you see them hosting a show telling you to kiss Israel's ass, I guarantee you they got paid by an Israeli supporter. I guarantee it. So if you see someone, Charlie Kirk, going, oh, Israel's the greatest, Israel, Muslims are dirty, Muslims are gonna do 9/11, Muslims are racist, Muslims are the worst, Israel's the greatest. I would be shocked if he wasn't bribed by an Israeli supporter, and then if just after, and I'm not just talking about one person, you could tell, you just watch their shows. If they're dogs for Israel, that means they got paid by Israel. No one voluntarily goes, oh yeah, they spit on Christians, they bombed a church. Yeah, I love them. You guys should love them too. Nobody does that. Even if you're like a Christian nationalist, even if you're the most deep right winger, oh, they already took $300 billion off of, we should send them another $300 billion. No one on the right would voluntarily say that. No one with a shred of sanity would voluntarily say that. You only say that if you're getting paid by Israeli supporters. So whoever you are, I don't give a goddamn who you are, you're a bought bitch. So why don't you be honest with your audience and tell them where you got your money? because there's no chance that you voluntarily love a genocide. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you do, you just like, oh, they're committing a genocide. Oh, I would have taken a genocide on anybody because I'm a bloodthirsty, terrible person. Oh, but Israel's doing the genocide. Yes, yes. Okay, either you're a bloodthirsty clown who just loves murder and mayhem and stealing other people's land and spitting on Christians and killing Muslims, killing Christians. You voluntarily love that, or way more likely, you're getting paid by Israeli supporters to be their little dogs that they walk around the park. I think I've been clear enough.
Yeah, just you look at where the MAGA foreign policy was, and it was anti-intervention, it was anti-war a couple years ago, and of course, you're seeing more and more frustration, opposition from people on the right. But then every once in a while, you have a few outliers in the talking head influencer crowd. I don't think it's far-fetched to assume that it's a result of being bought and paid for. It's a result of direct investment in their enterprise or their business or organization. That's just what happens on the right. There's a ton of corporate money, there's a ton of special interest money that props up that right-wing ecosystem. Sometimes it manifests as culture war issues, and other times it's like this, to distort and warp reality to further some sort of special interests objective. I don't see any other scenario where you can look at this and think, yeah, this is good, unless, let me take a step back. There is a scenario, and this is common on the right. Unfortunately, it's common throughout America, and it's just xenophobia and Islamophobia. So if you are of that mindset, sure, this might be what you actually want. But I think there are many people, like you're seeing with these trips, they're paid for the same thing they do with Congress. They're just applying it now to influencers, and they'll then go into the evangelical circles, which we have to acknowledge the irony there, because the evangelicals think that all the Jews will be wiped out when Jesus returns.
Genocidal maniacs to the left of me, genocidal maniacs to the right of me. We're all stuck in the middle with these lunatics and the corrupt. God help us all, if he exists. All right, we'll be right back. All right, back on TYT. Let's go to TYT.com for a second. Beverly says, go off, Cenk. You're speaking for so many of us. Thank you, appreciate it. Salt of the Union says, Graham's a serial killer using policy instead of a knife. Unfortunately, that is overwhelmingly true. And not just for Lindsey Graham, but for the enormous majority of Congress. I mean, if you're still sending money to Israel at this point to murder more Palestinians, I mean, they kill. I keep bringing up because it's become so mundane, right? They murdered 54 people today. They'll murder another 50 tomorrow and another 50 tomorrow, right? It's a slaughterhouse, and we're sending them money. I mean, can a serial killer kill 50 people a day? No, but Israel can. And almost all of our corrupt politicians go, absolutely, I work for Israel, I'll send them more money to kill more Palestinians. How are you not supposed to be enraged by that if you're a decent human being? BC Lizzie says, Israel's in such danger that they're giving tours to American politicians, AKA foreign agents, LOL. The Israeli government has to be the dumbest sons of bitches I've ever seen, and I've seen Lindsey Graham. No, look, the Israeli government, to be fair to them, is not dumb. They know that those talking points are asinine, but they think it doesn't matter how stupid our talking points are. Our puppets, our parrots, like Lindsey Graham, all of Congress, all of cable news will just parrot what we're saying. We'll say that Israel's in existential danger when that's a effing joke. And then we'll say the Palestinians are the aggressors when they don't exist. Their state doesn't exist. They're the victims, but we'll pretend Israel's the victim. So I mean, it doesn't matter how stupid the talking points are. Oh, Israel's the greatest democracy. They imprisoned 5.5 million people in concentration camps in West Bank and Gaza Strip. What do you mean they're a democracy? But yet every idiot on cable news, every idiot on New York Times and Washington Post repeats that propaganda. So it doesn't matter how stupid it is. Everyone in power in America will do exactly as Israel tells them. So that's a fact. And then people say, oh, well, that fact makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable too. Just in a different way. Cal Rouse says, a few Christian friends have invited me to visit Israel. I have no desire to be spit on. I'm not letting that slide, and nor should you. Emil Woods, 1982, thank you for gifting a sub on Twitch. Parisian Tumbleweed on YouTube member section says, Cenk will be celebrated one day for his unrelenting passion for the righteousness, for the righteous. Look, brother, I mean, or whoever you are, I'm not in it for that, and you know why you could know that I'm not in it for that? Because I don't think there's any chance that'll happen. No, I'll be hated for the end of time by the powerful, and by every faction of the powerful. Oh, he offended our feelings. Oh, that son of a bitch won't shut up with the truth, right? So no, they'll never like me. They'll always hate me. Stan says, respect you so much for speaking out on this. Take my hat off for you, Cenk. Also, mad respect to your colleagues. Thank you, we appreciate it, brother. At least we got you guys. In Liberty, in Guns We Trust says, makes me sick how they weaponize religion to their political benefit, violating multiple commandments, particularly murder, stealing, false witness. These people are working on behalf of Satan. The Israeli cabinet, obviously not a whole people, and yes, the Israeli cabinet. I mean, if Satan exists, he's obviously in the Israeli cabinet. All right, back on TYT. I forget if I read Lizzie's name, but Lizzie, thanks for joining. She hit the join button below, appreciate it. Jordan, what's next?
Take a look at this.
We're here because Donald Trump on January 6th tried to light democracy on fire, tried to wreck this country, tried to steal an election, as Alex just said, by trying to dial in for 11, almost 12,000 votes. And here we are, an open and plain sight before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election. And here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules.
California Governor Gavin Newsom announced plans to redraw California's congressional districts to counter Texas's gerrymandering efforts to add 5 more Republican districts. Newsom's actions are heralded by some, but also might meet opposition from his own constituents. And we'll get into that momentarily. But first, let's take a look at some of the other comments Newsom made at his event today.
That's what this is all about. It's about power, and I want to end on this. And we are about to give power back to the people. You have, on November 4th in California, you have the power to stand up to Trump. You have the power to declare that you support a system that is not rigged. You have the power on November 4th to stand up for people that are being bullied. You have the power to stand up for people that are being intimidated. You have the power to stand up to the rule of law. We're giving the people of this state the power to save democracy, not just in California, but all across the United States of America.
Now, Newsom's plan is to have California lawmakers vote on the new maps as early as next week. He expects those votes to be successful. Assuming that happens, Newsom will call a special election, and the proposed maps would be placed on the November 4th ballot for Californians to vote on. They would then be used for the 2026, 2028, and 2030 elections, but only for congressional races. After that, California would go back to having an independent commission redraw congressional maps following the next scheduled US Census count. But a complicating factor in all of this is that California voters want independent maps free from partisan gerrymandering. By nearly a 2-to-1 margin, voters prefer keeping an independent line drawing panel to determine the state's House seats. The latest Politico Citron Center Possibility Lab survey found just 36% of respondents back returning congressional redistricting authority to state lawmakers. Older respondents were more likely to favor the independent commission, with 77% of people aged 80 and older in favor of keeping the status quo. Still, a healthy majority of younger voters, including 62% of Gen Z and millennials, supported the commission as well. And of course, people's opinions can and likely will change subject to this debate and this fight heating up. In fact, it already is heating up. While Newsom was speaking at that press conference in what seems like an obvious attempt by the Trump administration to send a message, more than 100 Border Patrol agents showed up outside the presser and began arresting people. Take a look.
Our reporters in LA right now, where they say that Border Patrol has arrived just outside of the downtown LA venue where Governor Gavin Newsom was actually holding a press conference today. And it appears that those Border Patrol agents are making arrests.
Hey, Doug, we're here making Los Angeles a safer place since we won't have politicians that'll do it. We do that ourselves.
Now, it's not clear who they arrested or how many people, but a spokesperson for the DHS denied that the raid had anything to do with Newsom's press conference. Cenk, do you believe them?
No, of course not. I mean, Trump's lying about almost everything, as usual. So, look, we're gonna get into it later in the show, but so if you say there's too much crime in DC, for example, okay, you could actually double the number of cops in DC if you want. You don't have to bring in the National Guard. You don't have to bring in these federal forces and do these bullying brown shirt tactics. I loathe it, I can't stand it. Now, in terms of the gerrymandering, look, gerrymandering is a blight on this country. It is toxic, I despise it. No state should have gerrymandered districts, okay? And the good voters of California, your instincts are totally correct and should be applied nationwide. Now, having said that, California should redistrict and lean totally in favor of as many Democratic seats as possible, okay? Do whatever you need to do, exactly as Texas is doing, and strike back, okay? So why? Because if the suckers in the blue states go, okay, let's do it fair and let's apportion based on things that make sense instead of partisanship. Oh, look at that, it's kind of, it's split in a way that matches the population, and all the red states cheat and they gerrymandered their states so that it's totally rigged in favor of the Republicans. You could take a state that's 60-40 Democratic and turn it into 60-40 represented by Republicans if you gerrymander it the right way. So it allows them to cheat on a mass scale. So if you do unilateral surrender and you don't gerrymander the way that the red states are, then they'll have a permanent advantage and then they'll use it against you. It's too naive. I would take whatever Texas is doing and double it.
Yeah, at first glance, when I first heard they were trying to do this, I mean, we talked this morning, I was somewhat opposed to it because I think independent, nonpartisan districting is critical and must be worth protecting. And then when I heard the details, no, it's just 26, 28, and 30 only for congressional. The voters have to decide this November. I'm for it. And to be clear, and he said this in his remarks, this is just a response to what Texas is doing. And Texas is only doing that by members of that own state legislature's admission to send more Republicans to Congress. They are openly admitting in the legislative debate, that's why they're doing this. It's not because they think the districts or dynamics or demographics have shifted in the state. No, it's purely to add more Republicans to their congressional delegation. And the solution was HR 1, which every Democrat voted for a couple years ago. No Republicans supported. And that would have ended partisan gerrymandering throughout the country. Why? Because Republicans want to rig the system. That's it. They hate our democracy. They don't want to play by the rules. They want to cheat, steal, lie, do whatever they can for power. And this is another example. So I was on the fence leaning towards no, now I'm all in, do it. And every blue state should be doing this.
Yeah, so look, it's Republican politicians we're talking about. Republican voters are more split. They're split in a way that is honestly hypocritical. not as true for the Democrats. I'm basing it on the polling, guys, and it's not my bias, okay? But Democrats are also a little biased, but not nearly as much as the Republican voters. And so in California, 91% of Republican voters go, oh, independent commission. Don't gerrymander based on partisanship. In Texas, I haven't seen the poll on it, but what I've heard is that, the Republican voters are much more in favor of redistricting and cheating based on getting Republicans more seats. So what are you doing? Okay, the principled position, if you care about democracy, is no gerrymandering, okay? Let independent commissions pick it. Don't let the politicians pick their own voters. By the way, if you said to me, California exists on its own, Texas isn't doing anything, the rest of the country is being fair, would you want to have the Democrats redistrict California so there's more Democratic seats? My answer would be hell no, no way, right? It should be fair because guys, think about it. If they gerrymander the hell out of all these states, they already know who's going to win in each district. Because the Democrat, let's say that it's a red state, Democratic district has like 80% Democrats. So that Democrat seat is safe forever. And then the other Republican seats have solid majorities, 54, 55, 56, etc. That's how they do it. So, and some are even more. So, okay, so what does that mean? Whether you're a Democrat or Republican, your vote doesn't count. It doesn't count at all because you're in a district that is so safe for either side that your vote is irrelevant. So then democracy is irrelevant because the politicians pick their own voters. So if you're a principled Republican, right wing or independent, whoever you are, then you should join us to try to make this nationwide and the tyranny of the politicians picking their voters instead of the voters picking our politicians. But as long as the red states are going to cheat, of course the blue states should strike back. It would be weakness, cowardice, and plain old stupid not to. And by the way, if they strike back and the Democrats pick up more seats, that is our only hope for the Republicans saying, okay, fine, it's hurt us now. Now we'll agree to have it be done by an independent commission throughout the country. That's your only chance. But if they think they could pick up one extra seat from it, they will never relent. I've never seen any group of people outside of Israeli government that cares more about power and only power than Republican politicians. All right, God damn it, we got to do the next story. We don't have a choice. All right, we got to do it. Go ahead, Jordan.
All right, take a look at this.
We went in there and right away, the people were just like rude. Like they gave us our menus, didn't even tell us Happy Easter when they were telling everybody else Happy Easter. And the whole time she was just looking at us, giving us dirty looks and talking to her workers, like whispering and stuff about us. So I definitely will never go back there.
A Minnesota teenager is accusing a Buffalo Wild Wings of discrimination after a server followed her into the bathroom and demanded that she prove that she was a girl. Cenk, before we get to the details about what happened, what are your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, this is sick, guys. This is why, look, we had a lot of debates about transgender issues on the outer edges on professional sports. I disagreed with left-wing orthodoxy. People took my head off. Oh, you're a right-wing, blah, 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 blah. But when you go that far out, then they start walking your rights backwards. And what I was worried about is that they would walk them backwards to the point where they say, okay, trans people shouldn't be allowed in the military. They're not 100% American. They should not have the same rights as us. I despise that. The core of the country, the idea of America is equality for everyone. And the second thing I was worried about was bathrooms. And so here we are. Okay, so I don't have to convince the left. And for those of you who voted for Trump, I know that some of you will never be convinced. If you're on the outer edges, you hate trans people, and you're proud of it if you're radical right? Oh yeah, they're this and that, oh, okay. Well, I'm never gonna convince you and I don't care to convince you. But if you're among the Trump voters who are decent people and you, oh, hey, I thought the trans sports was unfair, etc. Guys, are you really gonna do this to people? And you see how it's like, just like we told you, it's not just trans people, now they're doing it to women. I mean, how insulting is this? Imagine they pull your wife aside and she's going to the bathroom and go, we think you're a man. We accuse you of being a man. Oh my God, that is horrific, horrific. Is that what you're signing up for? No, get out of the bathrooms. You guys are nuts. Let people go into the bathrooms that makes sense for them. So anyway, keep going, Jordan.
The girl you saw in that video is Garika Mudra, a cisgender 18-year-old high schooler from Minnesota. She's also biracial and lesbian for context. While dining at a Buffalo Wild Wings in Owatonna back in April, when she went to the restroom, a server followed her inside, banged on the stall door while saying, "This is a women's restroom. The man needs to get out of here," according to Gender Justice, a Minnesota gender equality organization that filed the charge on Mudra's behalf. Let's hear more from the legal director of Gender Justice, Jess Braverman, who spoke more about the situation.
Her waitress came in, banged on the stall door, accused her of being a man or a boy in the women's room, forced her out of the stall, and eventually made her unzip her hoodie to show that she has breasts. She was wearing a shirt, but that she wasn't allowed to leave the bathroom until that happened. It's really upsetting. It should never happen to anyone. Our client's only 18 years old. She's still in high school.
This wasn't the first time something like this happened, but this is like the worst time. Because other people, like, they just say, like, this is a girl's restroom, and they just go on about their day. But this one, like, she kept it going. She was, like, mad screaming. Like, she made me feel, like, very uncomfortable. Like, now, like, after that, like, I just don't like going in public bathrooms. Like, I just hold it in. And now, like, I just think, like, oh, I'm going to get harassed. I'm going to keep getting harassed like this.
According to the press release, the employee blocked Mudra from leaving the bathroom until she proved she was a woman. After that, the server then left the restroom without saying anything. Gender Justice filed the charge of discrimination with the Minnesota Department of Human Rights, arguing that what happened to Mudra violates the state's Human Rights Act, which protects people from discrimination based on gender identity and sexual orientation, among other protected statuses. According to NBC News, Minnesota is one of 21 states and DC that explicitly prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in public spaces. Sarah Jane Baldwin, senior staff attorney at Gender Justice, said at a news conference Tuesday that even though Mudra isn't trans, the server's actions were based on assumptions that she made about Mudra, and that Minnesota's law protects against discrimination based on stereotypes or assumptions about protected characteristics like gender identity. Baldwin also added, businesses have a legal obligation not to just have anti-discrimination policies on paper, but to train staff and ensure that those policies are followed in real time. When that doesn't happen, the business is liable for the harm caused. Mudra's stepmother, Shauna, also shared with Gender Justice, "We know Garika was targeted because of how she looks. She didn't do anything wrong. She didn't fit what that server thought a girl should look like. I was shocked and heartbroken by how many people shared similar stories after I posted about it online. This shouldn't be normal. We can do better, and we have to." Cenk, what do you make of this story?
Look, this is why I despise culture wars. So first of all, it almost always involves some form of cruelty to one another. Secondly, it divides us. And so now we're questioning what gender everybody is going into bathrooms. I mean, how is this not going to be a disaster? And by the way, it makes me want to strike back. Well, how would I strike back? Would it be being cruel to random right-wing people? No, I would never do that, right? But a Republican politician is going into the bathroom. If it's a woman and she's a politician and she's in favor of these kind of laws, I say no. Prove to me that you're not a man. You look like a man. I would tell every female Republican politician, you look like a man. You have to prove it. Sorry. Don't go into that bathroom. That's it, I'm sending someone in after you, okay? And I would say to every Republican male politician, you look like a girl. So no, you're not allowed to go in the men's bathroom, okay? You look like a woman. Come on, prove it to me, Okay, show me your junk, let's go, okay? All right, if you guys are gonna do it to random innocent civilians who aren't politicians, who aren't anything, and you're gonna humiliate people like this, what do you mean, show me your genitalia? What kind of lunatic position is this? And if you're wondering why I was in favor of trans girls being allowed to play in high school sports and not professional sports, I'm not saying that it shouldn't be allowed, I'm saying the league should make their decisions. But why do I make a different case for high school? Because of this. Because I don't want perverts in high schools going, okay, I want to see the kid's genitalia. Or, oh, I don't know, oh, that girl might be a boy. Show me your genitalia. No, I don't want it. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Oh, my daughter came in second instead of first. I'll live with it. The 10 times that happens in the country. What I can't live with is you asking to see the genitalia of millions of kids. Or prove to me that you're a woman. Well, how sick and gross is that? Nah, this isn't America, man. This is America tearing itself apart so you won't notice when they do a $4 trillion tax cut for the rich. Oh, right, that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, I also want to point out the right and to some extent the corporate world joining the right in their anti-DEI crusade sets up more and more scenarios like this. Of course, this is largely led by the right's culture war, attacking and demonizing trans people, which is repugnant, but also their attempts to totally eradicate DEI as a core concept or as part of an HR or training program results in things like this. Because if you trained your employee on non-discrimination policies, maybe you're not on the hook for what should be and probably will be a massive discrimination lawsuit. So thankfully, Minnesota is a state that protects people. Unfortunately, only 20 or so states do. We would love to see that nationwide, but red states don't want that. They want people like this, and they want trans people, and they want people in the LGBTQIA plus community to be discriminated against. They don't care. They don't think you're worthy of the same level of respect or dignity or rights. You're a second-class citizen in their eyes. So thanks to the Minnesota government for prioritizing the rights of all people. We'd love to see that elsewhere, but this is just their anti-DEI crusade coming back and biting them in the butt.
All right. Got to run. Jordan, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Everybody check him out on Rebel HQ and the Insurgents podcast. When we come back, the troubling situation in Ukraine, how in the world do we solve it? Look, there's excellent case on both sides. Unfortunately, we do have one more Israel story. IDF is financing gangs in the Gaza Strip. Of course they are. Of course the serial killers are financing more death and destruction and more criminality. All right, we'll be right back. I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken when I first got my license, like 17 years old or 17, 18, whatever it was. And I'm driving, I think, my dad's Oldsmobile. And I parked it in a place where there was two cars next to me, really tight spot, and a car behind me. I don't even know how I got in there because I'm a terrible driver. Back then I was an even worse driver. And on the roads I'm okay, but in parking spots I have terrible spatial reasoning and I'm a mess. And on my way out, I hit all three cars at once. I broke all records, okay? So I went, as I'm backing out, I went boom, oh and this side hit that car, this side hit this car, and the back hit the third car, okay? And I got stuck. I didn't know how to get out. Like, I went, okay, for this, and then I'm like, no, and then, right? And then finally I had to stop, go inside the KFC and go, A, I'm sorry, I hit a bunch of your cars. They're like, what do you mean a bunch of your cars? I'm like, I don't know. Wow, there's a B? Yeah. I'm like, I hit three cars. I don't know. So you guys gotta come help me, okay? Yeah. Okay, so one, my bad. Really sorry about that. Yeah. Okay, number two, can someone take my car out? Because I don't want to keep hitting your cars, and I'm incapable of taking it out of this spot.
Now, baby, move that fat, baby, move that fat.
Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. This is Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to big pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
You are the media revolution. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
You guys, the Young Turks, which is my favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Cenk and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
People who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning. They seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
Have you been there?
All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Yaz with you guys. All right, Yasmin Aliyah Khan back. She's on Rebel HQ. Make sure you're checking that out. And also with us is Mulling It Over and Ideki, who joined through tyt.com/join. We appreciate you a lot. And Joe Camel donated through there. You can also do that. That's amazing. Thank you for doing that, Joe. And then also Konstantin Kaviris gifted 10 Young Turks memberships on YouTube. You're awesome, Konstantin. Appreciate it. All right, Yaz, what do you got for us?
All right, let's just get right into this next story.
Let's try to negotiate an end to this nightmare that never needed to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly what Neville Chamberlain did.
I'll shut up. Just the dumbest, like, what are you, 80 IQ, Neville Chamberlain? That is the one and only lesson of history, that appeasement never works and aggression is always right. Why don't you take some of the lessons from...
Appeasement doesn't work with a dictator. You obviously don't know Vladimir Putin.
Appeasement, we appease dictators all over the planet right now. We overthrow democratically elected governments and prop up dictators. What are you even talking about?
All right, tomorrow, President Donald Trump will meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, not Russia. And that upcoming meeting has renewed the debate over how to end the Russia-Ukraine war. So you just saw comedian Dave Smith go at it with human rights activist Sir William Browder. We have more of that debate to show you. But first, Cenk, is there even an easy solution here?
No, there definitely isn't. I'm not even sure which way I come out. And I know that Dave was right on every point of the debate we're going to show you in a little bit. There's more. He's right that anytime you talk about not going to war, they're like, oh, Neville Chamberlain, appeasement. It's the same talking points. And that guy keeps accusing Dave Smith of not being a serious person and not knowing the facts, and then he never shows any facts. All he does is his dumb talking points I've heard my whole life, like, oh, you don't know, he is a dictator. We should get rid of all dictators. Dave Smith obliterates him on that. We're gonna show that to you in a second. But in terms of the main question, should we keep sending military aid and weapons to Ukraine? We have that up on the live chat. It shows live at 6 o'clock every day. We have it up on tyt.com, and I don't know about that. We're gonna give you both sides, so let's hear the rest of the story.
Absolutely. Okay, so earlier in the debate, Smith did explain his point of view on the conflict, so let's take a look and see what he had to say.
It is undeniable that the West did a lot to provoke this conflict. It's just undeniable. Our CIA director through all of Joe Biden's term, Bill Burns, was the one who wrote the Niet Means Niet memo, who warned Condoleezza Rice, do not keep pushing in this direction. And we continued pushing regardless. It's resulted in this catastrophe. Like I said before, Pierce, I'm not absolving Vladimir Putin of any responsibility. He launched this war and he's responsible for the destruction. But for God's sake, Pierce, you start this at the beginning asking like, but what's the actual plan? Like, what's the military plan for how you can evict the Russians? Nobody here has anything. So what do you want to do? Let's try to negotiate an end to this so people stop dying. It is the best case scenario. No one really has anything. No one has anything other than maybe we could keep sending weapons and money in, and this slow grind of people dying will continue. And Vladimir Putin will then, at the end of that, take the territory he wants. Let's try to negotiate an end to this nightmare that never needed to happen.
Later, Browder stated that he believes harsh sanctions could end the war, but Smith just kept ripping into him. So here's that.
You obviously are not educated on the issues. The reason why Vladimir Putin is at war is for his own personal survival. He's not going to back off from this war. To then appease him at this moment, to give him Ukraine is just a complete.
You're not giving him anything. It's not yours to give. He took it and you can't get it back. Deal with that reality. Sorry.
Yeah, you could impose crippling sanctions on him. You could give the Ukrainians the
sanctions, more sanctions.
And then you could negotiate from a position of strength. You don't negotiate from a position of weakness, which is what's being.
There's Joe Biden's plan. We could end the war with sanctions.
You don't have to call it Joe Biden's.
We're years.
You don't have to call it Joe Biden's anything. You don't have to politicize logic.
I'm not politicizing anything.
I'm saying this is Biden. You're saying Joe Biden.
Okay, now let me respond. Yeah. Yes, he was, I'm not sure if you're familiar, he was the former president of the United States, and this was his plan. We ran this experiment. It did not work. It led to hundreds of thousands of people more dying, and now we're here.
Okay, so what is Trump planning to discuss with Putin tomorrow? I don't know. I don't think Trump knows either, because in typical Trump fashion, he is giving mixed signals. On the one hand, he stated today that the US is through with sending money to Ukraine. Take a look.
We have great rare earth. We made that as payment for all of the money that we've spent so foolishly in Ukraine. We spent $350 billion. Now Europe spent $1 billion. That's a lot of money. They spent $100 billion. That's a lot of money, but we shouldn't be spending a lot more money than them, and they understand that. And I think that's maybe why we're not spending money anymore. We're not spending any money. They're paying us for everything. So it's people are shocked when they hear it. They don't even understand. They don't even write about it. But we're not spending money, but we are spending a lot of time trying to get the war solved.
What is he talking? He said we have great rare earth. That's not a real sentence. So also Trump has repeatedly stated that Russia could take some Ukrainian territory as part of a ceasefire deal. Russia currently controls about 20% of Ukraine's land. Last week, Trump said this. He said, you're looking at territory that's been fought over for 3.5 years. You know, a lot of Russians have died. A lot of Ukrainians have died. So we're looking at that, but we're actually looking to get some back, some swapping. It's complicated. We're going to get some back. We're going to get some switched. There will be some swapping of territories to the betterment of both. Okay. But on the other hand, NBC News just reported the following. Trump told European leaders during a call on Wednesday that he does not intend to discuss any possible divisions of territory when he meets with Putin. So Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, he also is sending a lot of mixed messages. Over the weekend, he stated Ukrainians will not gift their land to the occupier. But later, Zelensky changed his tone a little bit. Zelensky told reporters this week that territorial exchanges are a very complex issue that cannot be separated from security guarantees for Ukraine. Trump has stated Putin will face quote, very severe consequences if he does not agree to a ceasefire. Not sure what those consequences are. Trump has also said that he'll know if a ceasefire is even possible after just the first 2 minutes of meeting with Putin in Alaska, because he is just that good. It seems that what Trump really wants for Putin is to negotiate directly with Zelensky. He said this, he said, the next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need, but I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. However, Putin is refusing to meet with Zelensky, and the proposed Trump buffer doesn't seem to be swaying him in that direction. Cenk, it seems inevitable to me, unfortunately, that Ukraine is going to lose some of its original territory to Russia at the end of all of this. It's been almost 4 years. We have seen the devastation that Russia has created in Ukraine, and unfortunately, at the end of it all, I think that Russia will probably just gain a little bit of land. I don't like that, but unless Putin can say that he got something out of slaughtering all of the young men of Russia, he's not going to stop doing what he's doing. All of this was completely avoidable. None of this needed to happen. Putin thinks he's some sort of Russian czar who just needs to expand the territory lest he die in disgrace. This was all very ego-driven, regardless of whatever justification is actually being given for the Ukrainian invasion. And Cenk, before I get to you, something else to consider. Trump could potentially offer Russia the use of natural resources. What did he say? We have great rare earth. Ukraine does have a lot of mineral deposits, coal, iron ore, titanium. It's also got oil and natural gas. It makes sense that Russia would want a piece of that between Trump and Putin, and they could agree that Ukraine needs to give some of that up in exchange for peace in their own country. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so a lot of truth on all sides here. So let's break it down. So first off, Trump has weirdo problems here because he wanted the rare earth minerals from Ukraine. That made the negotiations more difficult, not less difficult. Like it was us just butting in and going, hey, what are we getting out of this? So we got to get lithium for Teslas, et cetera. So that was bad. And he's constantly flip-flopping. Okay, there's nothing we can do about Russia. I'm gonna kill you, Russia, if you don't do something. He just back and forth, drives me crazy. Overall though, his policy is better than Biden's. So if your feelings are hurt by that, let me explain. Because Joe Biden was not trying to get to peace. He barely engaged in any kind of negotiations, didn't push forward negotiations, didn't incentivize negotiations, and partly because he was trying to bleed Russia dry for a number of reasons. We can come back to that. And so even though it doesn't help Ukraine, he was thinking, well, the longer the war goes on, the more the Russian military is weakened, and that is good for American interests. Also good for Israeli interests. Here, let me just quickly explain that and I'll get back to the core issue. So Russia was helping both the Syrian government and the Iranian government. Okay, now you can say, hey, that's bad. And Russia's invasion of Ukraine is terrible, right? But because Russia is bogged down in Ukraine, they didn't have the extra support for Syria and Iran. And so Israel, being thrilled with that, took out the Syrian regime while Russia was preoccupied in Ukraine. And then they obliterated Iran's air force and air defenses while Russia could not help them. So both American and Israeli interests are for as long a war as you could possibly want. When I say American interests, I don't mean the American people. I mean the American government and the bureaucracy and the military industrial complex, et cetera. They're all thrilled with this war and they want it to go on forever. I do not, okay? I want it to end, and so since Trump is at least trying to end the war, I give him credit for that. And I don't think he's lying about that. He's clearly trying to end it. So no, period. He's more correct on this. Okay, now, but what should we do? Okay, like when you break down the talking points of the people who say support Ukraine further, right, with more military, et cetera. They always use an appeasement point. That's useless. That doesn't mean anything. Dave Smith's right about that. If you say appeasement anytime there's negotiations, you'd never get to peace, okay? Number two, he says, oh, he's a dictator. And we didn't show you this part, but Dave made a great point. He said, what do you mean? We support dictators all across the world. Of course we do. And who do you think runs Saudi Arabia? They're dictators, right? And we love the Saudis. Not the American people, American politicians, both Biden and Trump kissing Saudi ass 24/7, right? I mean, Netanyahu's a dictator. He's the prime minister of Israel, but he's the dictator of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and we sent him endless money. So that's a garbage talking point, not true at all. In fact, if you're a democratically elected leader, sometimes we'll do a coup against you and put a dictator in. So please spare us the nonsense talking points, right? So in terms of sanctions, oh my God. Guys, sanctions work when is a situation like South Africa or Israel. Why? Not because of the racism or the apartheid or the occupation. No, it's because there's dispersed power, right? There's a great number of business interests, and if you hurt the business interests, then sanctions have a chance at working. Also true in Egypt, where part of the reason Mubarak went down is they did a general strike, and it hurt business interests enough that they deposed him. Later, they brought back a clone of Mubarak, but that kind of economic sanctions works in an area not controlled by a dictator. So when, ironically, that brother says, oh, you don't understand Putin. Putin is a dictator. That's why we should do sanctions. You're not educated. Sorry, brother, but you're not educated. Sanctions don't work on dictators. Sanctions work when there's diverse business interests that can all be moved at the same time, so they create pressure up top. So this is a situation where sanctions are honestly never going to work because Putin has that country on lockdown. And he says, oh, you don't understand because this is about Putin's survival. No, it's not. That's true of Netanyahu. If he ends the war, he might have to go to jail, right? So it's about his survival, literally. In the case of Putin, he's polling at 80% in Russia. What are you talking about, survival? So it's just like all the talking points are garbage, okay? But at the same time, we did say to Ukraine, hey, if you get rid of your nukes, we will defend you. They got rid of their nukes, and so now we're saying, well, we defended you for a while, but now it's getting kind of expensive and annoying, so maybe good luck with the Russians. I can't stomach it. I can't stomach it. What I want is, for God's sake, let's drive as hard as we can towards peace, right? So I agree with the negotiations. I do agree that if you cut off the military aid and weapons now, that does not give you extra leverage in the negotiations, and you do need leverage in the negotiations. But on the other hand, if I tell folks in Washington, don't cut off the weapons yet, they'll take that as a green light to send weapons till the end of time. Military industrial complex gets paid, Israel's thrilled, the American intelligence agencies and militaries, etc., are thrilled. So we're in this quandary we can't get out of. So the bottom line is, and here, one note from one of our members on TYT.com, Police at White House says, my unpopular opinion is to give Ukraine their nukes back. So I think it was No Math Dragon that originally came up with that idea on Twitch. But so our members have talked about that a couple times. I really like the idea, not to actually give them their nukes back, but to threaten Russia with giving Ukraine their nukes back, because we'd say, hey, listen, we don't want to spend money on it anymore, right? So, but they got a right to defend themselves, and we took their best ability to defend themselves away from them, which is nukes. So why don't we give them back? And then my guess is Russia will be like, wait, hold on. Let's get back to the negotiations. Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's why I like that, but I don't think even Trump's gonna threaten to do that. So then that leaves us with what Zelensky was saying at the end, which is, it sounded like he was being realistic there. He said, if you are talking about territorial concessions, then we have to have security guarantees. Okay, so that means that he is partly open to some territorial concessions. Okay, I hate it because Russia invaded. It's not fair to the Ukrainians, but if their leader is open to that, let's go, let's make that happen. Make a deal that the Ukrainians can live with and the Russians can live with, so we're not constantly funding this and that the war is not continuing to kill people on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, it really does feel like such a waste. And I understand why Zelensky would be in a position to make a concession of the land or even of the Ukrainian resources. But at this point, he has to look out for his people. He has been this whole time. But if there is a possibility to just end the slaughter, he's obviously going to want to do that. It's just like, what was it all for? At the end of all of this, after again, nearly 4 years of this, Russia will have gained a little bit of land and like, did you need it? Did you need it that badly? But you're absolutely right, Cenk. None of this stuff exists in a vacuum, right? None of these conflicts are as simple as they try to tell you they are. And I don't mean to be like, oh, there's nuance and it's too complicated to make sense of, so our hands are tied and we just have to do nothing. I just mean that in a historical context, and that includes recent history, the conflicts around the world are often connected. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit to understand how they're connected, but a lot of times you don't, like a lot of times it really just does come down to like old school imperialism and greed, right? And that's why like the Neville Chamberlain line, it falls a little bit short, right? I mean, that whole argument, just like, give them a little bit and then they'll be happy. That's not how power and greed works. And we know that, right? We have all of history to know that. But things are a little bit complicated in the sense that, we're saying that we're done giving money and weapons to the Ukrainians because it's just not working and we're wasting our own resources. It means that Ukrainians will likely suffer more than they might otherwise, at least in the very short term until everything gets squared away. And no one wants to make that call. So what normal person can actually make that call? That's why I always say that it takes a really abnormal, like weirdo, like not right in the head person, not just to be president, but even to want to be president, right? You always got to look at those people with a little bit of a side eye. I don't want to have to make calls like that. I just want to save as many people as possible, regardless of how much money it costs. But unfortunately, that is not the way the world works. So
yeah, last thing guys, I want to see the results of the poll. Can we pull that up because I'm curious the way you guys voted. So should we keep sending? Wow, 85%. I gotta have my glasses. Oh, that's from the website saying keep sending. Okay. Look, at the end of the day, I think I agree with you guys for the purpose of negotiation, but really only for the purpose of negotiation, so we can end this war for sure. All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. We'll come right back with more stories.
Have you been there? Have you been there?
All right, let's go to members on tyt.com. Don't Shoot on the Goalkeeper says, hey, this is from the top of the show. Hey, Smotrich, how about the we bury you instead? I wish the people of Israel would rise up and put their entire government in the ground. So look, I assume you mean politically, but even if you meant physically, if you meant it physically, what would happen is Smotrich can say we should kill the Palestinians and take their land, and there'll be no consequences. But if somebody said, oh, because Smotrich said we should bury Palestine, right? But if you said we should bury Smotrich on national TV, for example, there would be massive consequences. They'd be like, oh my God, you offended a Nazi, how dare you, right? But he can threaten to kill all the Palestinians, nothing. They won't. Go ahead, find it on cable news. I mean, Anna's going to be on tonight at 7 o'clock, so maybe she'll mention it on CNN. But other than that, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. You should check that out on Abby Phillips show. Anyway, other than that, there's no chance that anybody's going to talk about Smotrich and how he's planning to steal all of West Bank. All right, Church de Lanosa says, good evening, all blood boiling, 2 Gummy show then. Hey, brother, if it gets you, through the day, through the night, etc. God bless. And in fact, we've got a story on marijuana later. Nerd Ferguson says, ever notice how all the news clips on TYT about Israel and Gaza have a reporter with an accent? That's because there are no American TV news stories about what's happening over there, at least not any honest ones. So every once in a while, they'll put on Clarissa Ward or Trey Yingst, depending on the channel, and they'll do a good story. Jeremy Diamond, anyone on the ground is doing a pretty good job. But then they'll revert back to their anchors all the rest of the time for 98% of the coverage. And all of their anchors will be like, well, there were some deaths and stuff, but beloved Israel is the victim, and they had to do it. And anyone calling them genocide should be arrested, deported, and denaturalized, and all that garbage. And the real problem, the real problem is the sensitivities of the Israeli supporters. And then they'll spend 90% of their time on that. Denise Carmichael Carlton says, I never thought I'd ever see a Holocaust in my lifetime. What the hell happened to never again? We're watching it now in real time, perpetrated by the same victims of the Holocaust. Freaking insane. I agree that it's freaking insane. Patience says, I have listened to Anna's conversation with Tucker Carlson close to 5 times. I adore it, and I wish I could send it to my mom, who passed away in 2019. She was a huge Tucker fan, but also kind, generous, loving, non-racist / homophobic / xenophobic boomer who drank the Rush Limbaugh Kool-Aid post 9/11 due to her sister's influence, and went all the way down the Tea Party, Fox News, Trump rabbit hole. I wish I could have opened her eyes before she died. That is a moving message, Patience. Thank you for saying that about Anna's appearance. Jack Callahan says, Mossad and Epstein have effectively got the goods on our politicians where nobody will fight back. Well, it seems to be the case. I would love them to disprove that. Do not give in to fear. Says, if Lindsey Graham's God is going to murder us for being decent people, then I would rather be murdered. But of course, God is not a murderer, psychopath like Lindsey Graham thinks. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Yaz, and Mimi09, who just joined through tyt.com/join. We appreciate you. All right, Yaz, what's next?
All right, up next we got Theo Von. Roll the tape.
People are going to the GHF sites because they can't afford that.
Right. So they have to go there to get food.
The poor in Gaza cannot afford that.
Who is selling food at those prices? Like, is it Hamas or no?
No, it's not Hamas. It's gangs inside of Gaza. So that's a whole different conversation. If you want to get into, we can talk about.
I'd love to talk about that.
So
on Monday, Theo Von interviewed Dr. Aziz Rahman, a Wisconsin doctor who spent 2 weeks working in Gaza. So through their conversation, we learned that IDF-sponsored gangs, not Hamas, are making the food prices in Gaza skyrocket. And as a result, Gazans are forced to get food from the death traps that are set up by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which we know is backed by Israel. So we have a lot more clips to show you, but Cenk, what do you think about this first part of the interview?
Yeah, that's why cable news can't stop talking about the IDF-sponsored gangs that are actually stealing the. Oh, I'm getting news that they never talk about it. Interesting. So by the way, these doctors, American doctors that go to help people in Gaza, the biggest heroes you've ever seen. Jesus, that guy's got a 6-month-old. He explained another doctor has a 5-month-old at home. One doctor that went had is a 2-week-old at home. They're leaving their families and their children behind to possibly get murdered by the Israelis, just so they could help save people's lives. He talked earlier in that Theo Von interview about how hundreds of wounded and killed would come in on the same day when Israel did one of their mass slaughters. And that no doctor could go longer than 4 hours because it was so gruesome, right? And in this portion, when he was there on the ground, he wound up seeing these IDF-sponsored gangs of Palestinians, sellouts, who are working for the Israelis, and they're the ones stealing food, they have weapons, etc. You'll see more of that in a second. And thank you, God bless him, for telling us the truth and reality about Gaza.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get to the gangs themselves, let's watch Dr. Rahman explain what food prices are like in Gaza right now.
So they have markets, which is this tent with food. And unfortunately, the inflation there is serious. So for example, I think tomatoes have gone up like 3,000% in the last few months, or before this conflict to now, it's like 3,000%. I have a chart which I'll share with you, and it was in my grand rounds that I was talking about. And it's a cash economy there. So when people take it out of their bank accounts, it's like 50% of their value is lost in this transaction. So like a bag of cucumbers and tomatoes in America might cost $10, costs like $50 there. But that's after the 50% cut. So it's $100 to buy a bag of tomatoes and cucumbers. I mean, just the inflation's crazy. A bag of flour, which maybe 20 kilograms, which would last like a normal average family, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, costs $500.
Okay, so next here, he talks about how the gangs actually function and why the IDF created them in the first place.
So I think what the Israeli military realized is they just can't do the job that they were intending to do. They can't destroy Hamas. So they have employed a new methodology where they have basically taken people in Gaza who hate Hamas, so ex-prisoners that were probably in Gaza before, and employed them. So they basically drop these little bombs that shoot out little eSIMs and say, hey, call us if you want to work with us.
SIM cards, you mean?
Yeah, SIM cards. That's what I meant.
Okay.
And it says, call us. So, this person who wants to sell out basically calls them. Hey, we'll protect your family. We're going to make sure your family's happy. We're going to give you some money. We'll make sure we'll never bomb you, etc. Right?
Is that true?
I mean, I'm telling you what I was told.
Okay.
Abu Shabab is this main gang leader. Okay. He actually, there's news articles about him. Yeah, Yasser Abu Shabab. He works with the IDF. And so his gang basically gets first dibs on the aid coming in. So he and his gang steal the aid, and then they go to the market and sell at super high prices.
All right, so Rahman went on to explain why he doesn't believe that Hamas would be able to steal aid en masse even if they wanted to. Take a look at that.
We were in the hospital looking outside, and there's like, you just hear this AK-47. And I asked the locals, I was like, I thought you can't have a gun in Gaza. And they're like, you can't. And I was like, so how is that guy shooting a gun openly in the air, trying to get everyone away from the aid? And they're like, they're IDF associated gangs.
It's like contractors.
Yeah, it's contractors. But like, it's logic, right? If you are walking around with a gun in Gaza, that drone is watching you. You are going to die.
But what is also the rumors of Hamas controlling food there?
I have no evidence for that, and I don't even see how that's feasible. I mean, how are they going to loot the trucks when that drone is watching? That surveillance drone is watching every single move of everyone in Gaza.
So tell me that you walk outside, you can hear the drone?
Oh yeah, it's just buzzing over you 24/7.
Well, it's not just Rahman speaking up about this. CBS News reported the following in June. It said former Israeli defense minister and opposition lawmaker Avigdor Lieberman accused Israel's prime minister Benjamin Netanyahu of authorizing weapons transfers to a criminal gang in Gaza that he likened to the ISIS terrorist group. Netanyahu appeared later in the day to confirm the operation, suggesting it would save the lives of Israeli forces battling Hamas in the Palestinian territory. Lieberman appeared to be referring to a militia called the Popular Forces of Palestine, led by Yasser Abu Shabab. It has been accused of looting trucks trying to deliver aid to Gaza's starving population, which its leader reportedly denied. Well, of course, its leader reportedly denying aid to Palestinians. This whole thing is bonkers, Cenk. The idea that the same people committing a genocide, or even if you don't want to call it that yet, right? If you're still not at genocide point, right? We can still see that the IDF is actively bombing Gaza, killing its people, including its children, and systematically eradicating its existing culture. And that's what gets me, is that it's all very systematic, it's very deliberate, and none of it, there is no remorse, right? But then those people are the same people who told the international community, don't worry, we'll make sure that those same people are getting fed. We'll make sure that those people that we're bombing are getting taken care of. It just doesn't make any sense. Israel, especially the IDF, they are no longer interested in making the effort to feign innocence here. They're doing what they're doing, and they think they're justified in doing it, so they're not gonna stop doing it anytime soon. They don't value Palestinian life. They will tell you that themselves, they have done. But credit to Theo for finally understanding what's happening and for exploring this reality on his show, and for having this doctor on, a doctor who was there in Gaza and has firsthand knowledge of what is actually going on there. Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, look at life in Gaza. So there's a drone watching you at all times. You could be murdered by that drone for whatever reason, or when the drone calls in a strike, etc. And so it's Big Brother. It's the worst form of Big Brother you've ever heard. But Big Brother's not just watching. Big Brother's got his finger on the trigger. And if you step a little bit, well, you don't actually have to step out of bounds. You don't have to actually do anything wrong. They kill you anyway, right? Like, so then they'll say, oh, oops, we accidentally murdered tens of thousands of civilians and tens of thousands of children. It's not an accident. They know exactly who they're killing. They did a targeted strike against 6 journalists the other day. One of the most prominent journalists for Al Jazeera murdered, along with 3 other Al Jazeera reporters and 2 independent media reporters, all murdered by Israel on purpose. It's a slaughterhouse. Okay, so then they say, oh yeah, Hamas is stealing the food. But listen to what Dr. Rahman's saying. So if you're Hamas and you have a gun and you step outside, the drone's gonna see you and boom, you're dead instantly. So there's this whole thing of like, can you believe they're hiding it among the civilian population? Brother, if they step outside, they're dead instantly. So like, oh no, yeah, they should all step outside and voluntarily get killed. Okay, maybe they should, but they're not going to. Okay, no one does that. That's not a realistic answer. But are they stealing the food? Well, how can they steal the food if they have no weapons? They can't step outside with weapons, but the so-called popular forces of Palestine has weapons. They have weapons all over the place and they're not being killed because they're working with the Israelis. So the people stealing the food and thuggishly intimidating fellow Palestinians is this group sponsored by the IDF. Okay, now, do you know that that's how Hamas started? So Ariel Sharon and Netanyahu thought, the Palestinian Authority, Fatah in the West Bank, and at the time in Gaza Strip, was too popular, and they wanted to divide and conquer. So they started encouraging another group to fight against them, Hamas. Oops. But is it an oops? Is it an oops? Is it an oops that they just conveniently ignored the intelligence on October 7th? A country that has enormous technological capability, enormous intelligence capability, apparently the best intelligence agency in the world. And oh golly gee, oh, did we accidentally fund Hamas? Golly gee, did we accidentally drop our guard down on October 7th when we had the information that they were going to attack? Oh, did we use that to murder half of Gaza and now declare a plan to steal the whole thing, conquer it in their own words? So yeah, no, it's not Hamas stealing the foods. It's either the Israelis that are murdering people waiting for the food, or their new traitor sellout thugs that are the actual criminal gangs in Gaza, funded, unsurprisingly, by the terrorist government of Israel.
Yeah, if there is a hell, then there's a special place in hell for these people. But that aside, whenever you create chaos in a nation and whenever you foster an environment of fear, then people lose their sense of community and they're just trying to survive. This feels like a survival instinct, and I'm definitely not trying to justify it, but I'm saying that this is the kind of environment that the IDF has deliberately created in Gaza, turning the people against each other. It's not a good situation, and they're just a complete lack of remorse.
Yep. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, so let's go to Super Chat. NH says, that Buffalo Wild Wings story makes me so mad. Me too. Quote, I'm worried about the girls being sexually assaulted by trans people. That's why I'm sexually assaulting them myself to protect them. What kind of logic is that? You're absolutely right. It makes no sense at all. They're not worried about that. Anyway, it frustrates me so much. Adis Bayraktarevich. He taught me how to pronounce it. It is a Turkic name, or at least partly Turkish. Says, I'm genuinely curious, when exactly do you think will be the turning point on Gaza and when we liberate America from AIPAC? Honestly, the Israelis are panicked that they're losing the right wing, and that's where the answer is. I wish that it was the left wing, but they don't care about the left wing. Everyone in power ignores the left wing completely. The right wing has power. It drives me crazy. It drives me crazy, but that is the reality. So we have to get our right wing brothers and sisters to realize the horrors of Israel and the fact that they're occupying us. And when they do, and the right wing gets angry, that's when we have hope, okay? It's so ironic, deeply ironic, but that is the reality, and that's why Israel's nervous about it. Nixter, the trickster dragon, says, I spent most days switching between deep despondency and blinding rage due to everything going on in the world, but at least the watch list, TDR, Indisputable, and TYT make me feel less crazy /alone/hopeless. Guys, if you don't know, watch list, TDR, the Damage Report, and Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie are all TYT Network shows. Try to check them out on YouTube or on TYT.com. We have a 24-hour channel. You can just see them when they're live throughout the day. And thank you for saying that. And guys, I think that what you're alluding to there is what a lot of people say. It's like when I rage about it, it in some ways makes you less angry. It at least, it's both cathartic sometimes, but also because at least someone else is saying it. When I watch TV or I read mainstream media, it drives me nuts. It's lie after lie after lie. And it's maddening. So at least we have a community here where we get to say the truth and no one can interfere with that, as long as we can fund this community. Stephen Poor writes in, God bless Palestine from Kentucky. Thank you, Stephen. Titan says, people who have a problem with the coverage of genocide can F off. They are not part of the team. These are the people it doesn't affect me, so who cares? I hear you, but some people really do want a variety in news and don't mean any harm by it. Buck says, can I get a birthday shout out, Cenk? Yes, happy birthday, Bucks. Solid member. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Yaz with the guys. So in a little bit, we're gonna get to a story about pot that I've been promising you guys. And Trump might be on the right path, but the right wing's trying to knock him off that path. So hold on for that. But first, so look, if you got either yourself or your parents are in Medicare, most people get some additional coverage, and when they do, it's like 1,000 plans out there, and it's frustrating. So a lot of people use brokers. That makes sense, but unfortunately, been reading a lot of news about how a lot of the brokers are not doing it based on helping you. They're doing it based on which insurance company gives them a bigger commission. So we found Chapter, and Chapter doesn't do that. So since we did the research on it, I feel good about it. They are really independent, and they save you on average $1,100 a year. You might actually have the right plan, and if you do, they'll just tell you, and then you have peace of mind. But if you don't have the right plan for you, they actually do it in a way that's personalized, and it's just a 20-minute call. You could save a ton of money. So I'm gonna do it with my parents, make sure that they're on the right plan. I'm not at all sure that they figured it out on their own. So if you can, call 805-201-2275, 805-201-2275, and also the other way to do it is askchapter.org/TYT, askchapter.org/TYT. I mean, you can't lose. You either get peace of mind or you get more money. Okay, so that's great. All right, now, guys, since we have a limited amount of time, we're going to save the pot story and the DC takeover and some of the dictatorial stuff happening there for the bonus episode, hit the join button below if you can, or tyt.com/join. But I'll just use this time to give you guys voice. Members on tyt.com say, Arsh Fiddle Dragon says, I'm glad TYT speaks continuously about Gaza. I don't want to look away. My senators and representatives don't listen to me at all. If all I can do is witness and rage and grieve, then it's what I can do. I don't want to leave them alone, especially since we're paying for it. Thank you for your coverage. So some people wrote in about that and made really good points. So I'm gonna try to find it. The Real Chem on YouTube member said, thank you all at TYT and at Cenk. We need your voices, all your voices. Please, please, please keep the passion and the truth. Thank you. Baba Franks writes in, I don't even see this having anything to do with trans anything, referring to that bathroom story. This was flat out sexual assault. Show me your genitals now or else. If I did that to anyone, I would be arrested. It's true. By the way, I think that person that did that in Minnesota should be arrested. Yeah, so Titan writes in super chat, people who have a problem with the coverage of genocide can F off. They're not, oh, I already read that one. So let me see. Stephen Matthias says, I really see this as simple. We really care about freedom. We need to continue attempting to ensure that Ukraine has theirs. Jonathan Borzjani says, people conflating Russia and Gaza are a joke. This is the one I was looking for. We don't fund Russia. Russia isn't slaughtering occupied people. Ukraine isn't 50% kids. Putin didn't establish and fund Zelensky like Netanyahu did with Hamas. All right, we'll see you in the bonus episode.